Everybody's gotta eat. Whether you're the Dalai Lama or the President of the United States, every world figure has to chow down on something. How much does your diet have in common with these famous world figures?
Trump likes pizza. There's nothing strange about that. In fact, what kind of weirdo doesn't eat pizza? It's the way he eats his pizza that tends toward the bizarre. For one thing, according to a video Trump released himself, his preferred method involves eating it with a knife and fork. He says eating it this way is very comfortable, and also says it allows him to remove the top of the pizza so he can just eat sauce, cheese, and toppings. The way he puts it, he does this for health reasons, saying,
"I like not to eat the crust so that we keep the weight down at least as good as possible."
Well, every little bit counts. One thing about Trump's unique perspective on food is the way he eats his steak. Well done. As his longtime Mar-a-Lago butler told the New York Times, a Trump-approved steak, quote, would rock on the plate. It was so well done. Most chefs say you should never order a steak cooked anything above a medium 135 degrees, while doneness hits at 155. Well-done steaks tend to be dry, tough, and lacking in flavor. Lacking in flavor, that is, until it's slathered in sauce. A waiter at the Trump International Hotel's steakhouse BLT Prime described a typical Trump order to Town & Country. The president ordered a well-done steak, an aged New York strip. He ate it with ketchup, as he always does. To each his own, we guess. At the very least, here's hoping this long-suffering waiter got a solid tip.
When it comes to great steaks, I've just raised the stakes.
Trump is also a big burger fan. What is a little weird is the way he orders his burger at the 21 Club, a restaurant at which Bloomberg says he has a regular table. The restaurant is famous for its 21 burger, which is said to have been the nation's first gourmet hamburger when it was introduced back in the 1940s. This isn't some simple tomato and pickle-topped beef sandwich. The 21 burger features grilled onions, a special sauce, and the diner's choice of blue or cheddar cheese. So how does Trump order his burger? Cooked through and topped with American cheese, more like the flavors you'd get across a fast food counter. In fact, Politico reveals that Trump even tried to have the White House replicate the McDonald's Quarter Pounder with cheese. Somehow, the trained chef's version did not live up to Trump's expectations, so one of his bodyguards had to make a Mickey D's run to satisfy that particular presidential craving. There's nothing unusual about drinking Diet Coke, not even on a daily basis, although it may not be as healthy as you'd hope. What is a bit over the top, though, is drinking a dozen Diet Cokes each and every day, which the New York Times says is a Trump habit. It's commendable that Trump drinks no alcohol, and according to a Q&A he did for Us Weekly, he also avoids coffee and tea. Still, 12 Diet Cokes is a whole lot of artificial sweetener, and that can't be good. One fun fact about Trump's Diet Cokes is the way he gets them. According to Time, in the Oval Office there is a box with a little red button sitting right on the desk. Instead of launching nuclear missiles, however, pushing this red button summons a butler bearing a Diet Coke for the president. That has to be the most dramatic soft drink delivery ever. So Trump likes McDonald's food. So what? So do billions and billions of other burger eaters, if the signs are to be believed. According to Let Trump Be Trump, the book by former campaign aides Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie, Trump would always order, quote, 2 Big Macs, 2 Filet-O-Fish, and a chocolate malted. Each Big Mac has 550 calories, according to McDonald's nutrition calculator, while Filet-O-Fishes have 380 calories apiece. And there is no malted on the McDonald's menu, but we can assume this is just Trump speak for a shake. A large chocolate one comes in at 840 calories. This adds up to 2,700 calories, that is, if you eat every bite. As Lewandowski and Bossie reveal, though, the president didn't eat any of the bread, which subtracts a total of 720 calories. Considering the fact that this mammoth meal would often be his only one for the day, well, he's not doing so bad after all. A bit quirky, perhaps, to get all your daily calories from one late-night drive-thru run, but hey, we've all been there.
Donald Trump is known for a lot of things, and one is his serious love of fast food. You might even call it an obsession. Here's the secret behind Trump's love of fast food.
How do you do it? What's your secret?
If you ever watched commercial television in the 90s, you'll be all too familiar with Donald Trump's fascination with fast food and junk food. Long before he was even thinking about a presidential bid, he was appearing in commercials and promoting fast food chains.
We eat our pizza the wrong way.
Crust first.
Why do New Yorkers have such big mouths?
Go big or go home.
Because they eat big pizza.
And Trump's habit only got worse during the presidential campaign. It's notoriously difficult for presidential candidates to get a healthy meal on the campaign trail, which often leads to overeating. In 2012, for instance, Mitt Romney's campaign coined the term slunch to describe the second lunch they would eat each day. Though, of course, the proper term for a meal between lunch and dinner is dunch.
What about second breakfast?
Don't think he knows about second breakfast, Pip.
So it's no surprise that in their book Let Trump Be Trump, former campaign workers Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie claimed that Trump had 4 major food groups: McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, pizza, and Diet Coke. Trump's love of fast food is also a strategic choice. According to Republican strategist Russ Shriver, Trump uses fast food to make himself seem like a regular guy instead of a billionaire celebrity. There's nothing more American and more of the people than fast food. It is the peculiarity of the brand that he's able to be on his multi-million-dollar jet with the gold and black branding and colors and at the same time eat KFC. And what makes it perfect is he does it all with a knife and fork while reading the Wall Street Journal. And when a BBC reporter asked one-time White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci what part of Trump is not elite, he said,
"There's so many things about the
He's
president.
a celebrity.
How about
He's
the
a billionaire.
cheeseburgers? How about the pizza that we're eating?
Everyone eats cheeseburgers and pizzas. What are you talking about?
It's not just poison that Trump fears, it's also germs. Trump revealed in his 1997 book, The Art of the Comeback, that he's a germaphobe, writing, "I happen to be a clean hands freak. I feel much better after I thoroughly wash my hands, which I do as much as possible." He even admitted to Howard Stern, it could be a psychological problem. So it makes sense that Trump prefers fast food, which he can get at the takeout window and eat in the safety of his own plane or luxury high-rise. In a 2016 rally in South Carolina, Trump praised fast food joints for being so clean.
One bad hamburger, you can destroy McDonald's. One bad hamburger, you take Wendy's and all these other places, and they're out of business.
He further explained,
I'm a very clean person. I like cleanliness, and I think you're better off going there than maybe someplace that you have no idea where the food's coming from.
According to a 2018 report by Bloomberg, Trump weighed in borderline obese at his first presidential physical in January. At 239 pounds and 6 feet 3 inches tall, Trump measured just 1 pound below obese under guidelines issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
You heard the doctor. The president has passed every exam we gave him. Physical exam, mental exam. The Tide Pod Challenge crushed it.
After the exam, Trump's doctor recommended he cut back on his fast food habit. And Trump also has some peculiar ways of trying to make his meals healthier. For instance, he reportedly skips the bun when he eats fast food sandwiches. Similarly, he claims that when eating pizza, he skips the dough and just eats the toppings. And he always opts for Diet Coke with his meal. Ordering a diet soda with a fast food meal so he can pretend it's healthy? Maybe the president is like the rest of us after all. This is what Melania, Ivanka, Eric, Don Jr., Tiffany, and Jared Kushner really eat. It might come as little surprise to find that Melania and Donald don't share too many eating habits. Still, the contrast between their diets is stark. In a 2012 interview with Refinery29, Melania was asked about her daily food routine, and she said, "Well, in the morning, every morning, I have a smoothie with a few ingredients and a lot of vitamins in it. It's very healthy, but today I had a bit of oatmeal and juice." Smoothie breakfasts with the occasional oatmeal treat is about as far as Melania could get from her husband's preferred way of starting the day. In fact, the president isn't a fan of breakfast at all and reportedly skips it completely on some days. If he does eat in the morning, it tends to be bacon and eggs, although he does have an affinity for Egg McMuffins. Melania's break from her husband's food preferences doesn't end with breakfast, though. Even when it comes to snacking, the two are as different as apples and Oreos. In her 2012 Refinery29 interview, Melania said, "It's not a diet. I just like to eat healthy because I feel better and have more energy. I don't have a particular snack I always eat. If I would snack, I would snack on maybe fruit or a little bit of chocolate because I think your body needs that too." In an interview with GQ, Melania revealed that she used to eat 7 pieces of fruit a day while living in New York. Whether she keeps that number so high these days is anyone's guess. But it's a fair bet that she's doing better than her husband, who, according to Fox News, demands that Air Force One be kept regularly stocked with potato chips and cookies. Like many of the Trumps, Melania isn't exactly afraid to hit the town and dine out every now and again. In a 2010 interview with New York Magazine, she admitted that her all-time favorite New York meal was the chicken parm at Jean-Georges. The restaurant, located inside the Trump International Hotel and Tower, is a French cuisine joint overlooking Central Park. Probably no surprise to see a Trump singing the praises of a Trump restaurant, though, is it? Although Ivanka may be all about healthy eating these days, that wasn't always the case. In fact, her diet once wasn't too different from her father's. According to an interview with Shape magazine, Ivanka said, "I ate like a teenager, carbs 3 times a day, usually in the form of pasta or pizza." After becoming pregnant, however, everything changed. And now her diet is far healthier than it was before. Just ignore the whole juice cleansing phase, which she admitted did not go well. She explained, "I tried a juice cleanse and it was a total disaster. For the 8 hours that I lasted, I felt like I was on the brink of starvation." Some say Ivanka appears to be the Trump patriarch's favorite child. So the idea of her once eating just like her dear old dad doesn't exactly come as a shock. The difference is that she managed to quit. So how does Ivanka's diet look these days? In a word, better. According to AOL, she starts off her day with lemon and water, a cup of coffee, and follows that up with a family breakfast of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt with berries. Or if her kids are in the mood for something else, she'll join them for what she calls fancy oatmeal. Lunch and dinner tend to consist of protein-based foods such as salmon, chicken, or salad. One of Ivanka's favorite spots for a special treat meal is Frankie's Spuntino in New York. On top of all of this, Ivanka also regularly exercises. She runs and has been known to attend spin classes. She also meditates for 20 minutes twice a day. All in all, that's about as far from eating like a teenager as you can get, which is probably for the best. In 2018, Donald Trump Jr. visited southern Louisiana to raise funds for the state attorney general, Jeff Landry. According to WWL, Don Jr. gave a speech in which he revealed his love for the state's culinary traditions, saying, "It's just great to come back here because you guys do have the best food in the country." Many people would have to agree with Don Jr. The food of Louisiana is revered across America and includes such mainstay dishes as jambalaya, po' boys, and of course, gumbo. Although some of their dishes may seem kind of alien if you're not familiar with the state's cooking scene, trust us, they're downright delicious. Not much else is known about Don Jr.'s actual eating habits, but he did at least make clear one thing he doesn't much care for in 2018 when he took to Instagram to make a bizarre and factually inaccurate attack on vegetables? The bacon-filled meme was captioned, "There hasn't been one single bacon recall in 2018, but there have been several vegetable recalls. Just saying." This was in reference to the recalls made by the FDA on a number of vegetable products in 2018, including several on romaine lettuce. But Don Jr.'s statement was basically entirely untrue. Numerous bacon products were recalled by the FDA in 2018, as Newsweek points out, while 30,000 pounds of sausage were recalled when it became clear that some products were at risk of containing metal fragments. We're getting the idea that Don Jr. probably isn't too bothered about fact-checking his jokey Instagram memes. Outside of his fancy business dinners, Eric Trump is apparently quite the accomplished cook. He was first inspired in the kitchen by his maternal grandmother, whose cooking was so good that the Trumps would crave her food for weeks after she left, according to the New York Daily News. Apparently, his time in the kitchen has paid off, and friends allegedly often ask that Eric cook for them rather than going out to dinner. He also used to cook for his roommates during his time at Georgetown University. The bulk of the food Eric cooks comes from the classic Slavic tradition and includes, in his words, the great Slavic meals, all laden with cream cheese and sour cream and heavy cream. Many of these dishes are a heart attack in a pot. Some of the dishes he might regularly make include borscht, which is a kind of beet soup, or breaded cauliflower, both of which were apparently specialties of his grandmother. Being Ivanka's husband, Jared Kushner probably keeps to many of the same eating habits as his wife, but he also has something of a background in cooking himself, believe it or not. A report by the Boston Globe about how Kushner, wasn't exactly popular with his Harvard classmates revealed that he was once made cooking editor of Harvard's Current magazine. The magazine covered all kinds of things, including news and campus life, but for some reason, no clips of his work as cooking editor seem to have surfaced, and little is known about just what he did in his role as cooking editor. One Boston Globe reporter did, however, suggest that Kushner makes a mean chicken tetrazzini, a dish which he apparently made for guests at the university back in 2001. Perhaps the world is all the poorer for having lost out on the Jared Kushner who pursues a career in food journalism. From the looks of it, Jared's eating habits certainly aren't too far off from those of his wife, and that means keeping healthy. In fact, he keeps things so healthy that it's put him on the receiving end of mockery from both his colleagues and enemies. In the tell-all memoir Let Me Finish, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie took aim at Kushner for his choice of diet. According to Christie, he had been at lunch with Kushner and Donald Trump in 2017, and Kushner was enjoying one of his, quote, typical salads at the time. Of course, it's worth mentioning that the two men aren't exactly on friendly terms. Christie was the one who prosecuted Kushner's father, Charles, on 18 counts of tax evasion, witness tampering, and making illegal campaign donations, putting him away for 14 months in 2005. The grudge continued for years afterwards, finally culminating with the attack made by Christie towards Kushner's love of salads in his book. Heavy stuff. Tiffany Trump may not exactly be at the forefront of the family's public dealings, but she is a Trump nonetheless. So let's dig in. Tiffany made headlines in June 2018 when, in the midst of her father's handling of the border crisis, she and her mother Marla Maples enjoyed a lunch of Mexican food in Midtown New York. According to the New York Daily News, Tiffany, who was surrounded by the Secret Service, ordered the vegan Impossible taco dish, followed by a cake dessert. Apparently, the other patrons of Taco Dumbo seemed basically okay with these two Trumps making a visit to their establishment. Taking her Instagram at face value, it seems that Tiffany is quite the fan of desserts too, with some of her favorite sweet dishes appearing to include creme brulee and cakes. No surprise here, of course. After all, her father is renowned for his love of all things sugary. Who else could come out of a summit with China's President Xi and only be able to talk about the chocolate cake they ate?
We're now having dessert. And we had the most beautiful piece of chocolate cake that you've ever seen. And President Xi was enjoying it.
Or who else, according to Time magazine, insists on getting 2 scoops of ice cream with his chocolate cream pie at the White House, while everyone else gets 1. Other favorite dishes for Tiffany include caviar and sushi, as well as all sorts of Indian food, according to the Washington Post. If nothing else, this would imply a desire for variation in the food she eats. Just like anyone else, really. Being as busy as Melania supposedly is, it can be understandably hard to find a moment to prepare a proper home-cooked meal. Considering who her husband is, it'd probably be equally difficult for him to sit down and eat it. When pushed on the topic, however, Melania has revealed what the family's meal of choice might be should any future sit-downs occur. At a 2019 town hall in Las Vegas, Melania gave us some insight into what her daily routine looks like. When asked what she'd cook for herself and the president if she had anything at her disposal, she pointed out that she hasn't actually done that yet, since she hasn't had time. But if the family had to choose one meal as a group, she suggested, after a lengthy silence,
casserole, McDonald's. Someone said McDonald's.
Maybe spaghetti.
This man is an eating machine. We're talking fast food, ice cream, and lumberjack breakfasts. But don't take our word for it. See for yourself what Joe Biden really eats.
My name is Joe Biden and I love ice cream.
It's no secret that Joe Biden is an ice cream enthusiast.
You all think I'm kidding, I'm not. I eat more ice cream than the 3 other people you'd like to be with, all at once.
In fact, according to Columbus Monthly, the Biden campaign spent $12,546 on Jenny's Splendid ice cream in 1 year. Of course, not all of that was consumed by Biden alone. It appears the campaign sent quite a few 6-packs of Jenny's pints to campaign backers, and presumably kept some on hand for the enjoyment of campaign staffers. But when you consider that the $12,546 doesn't reflect any ice cream that was in Jenny's, it's pretty clear that Biden's love of ice cream is real. So real, in fact, that Jenny's created an ice cream inspired by Biden's favorite flavor, chocolate chip. And that's not even the first time Biden has had an ice cream created in his honor. Back in 2017, when Biden gave the commencement speech at Cornell University, the Cornell Dairy created the flavor Big Red White and Biden, according to PBS. Although Joe Biden identifies as an ice cream guy, he seems more than happy to enjoy any number of treats. As Columbus Monthly noted, if it is creamy and frosty and sweet, Joe Biden is all about it. Indeed, he's been known to stop everything just to grab a milkshake, which is precisely what he did after his North Carolina drive-in rally, according to Business Insider. And on occasion, he's been seen indulging in frozen custard, as he did in 2012. While on a visit to Winston-Salem in North Carolina to highlight the Obama administration's efforts to bring manufacturing jobs back to America, Joe Biden dug into a double dip of Wolfie's frozen custard, according to the Winston-Salem Journal. But as loyal as Joe Biden is to ice cream and related creamy frozen treats, it would be unfair to the other desserts, not to mention the other sweets Biden partakes in now and then. According to his food diary from his 2012 vice presidential campaign, Biden's desserts of choice have included cookies, rice pudding, peach pie, custard pie, cheesecake, coconut cream pie, and an unidentified strawberry treat, to name just a few. In 2016, Joe Biden told Us Weekly that his favorite meal was pasta, since apparently ice cream isn't a meal.
Ice cream is big. Pasta with red sauce, he can go deep on that.
And while our 46th president has been known to chow down on spaghetti with marinara sauce, his flat-out favorite pasta dish is a slightly different variation on the pasta with red sauce theme, angel hair pomodoro. Via The Week, Biden's devotion to angel hair pomodoro runs so deep that he has been known to go a bit rock star about it when he's on tour, which is to say that in the same way that Beyoncé demands almonds and oatcakes backstage, Joe Biden demands angel hair pomodoro. And like many a rock star who has their food preferences written into their concert contracts, Biden has his written right into his speaking engagement contracts. Given Joe Biden's appreciation for red sauce Italian food, it shouldn't be surprising that his campaign trail tends to include multiple stops for pizza and at least one stop at Ohio's Naples Spaghetti House for their famous chicken parm, according to the Washington Examiner. But thanks to Parade magazine's interview with his wife, we now understand how that chicken parm might have been particularly comforting to him while on the road. Apparently, one of Dr. Biden's mantras is, "Food is love." When the Bidens were first married and she became a stepmom, she made sure to provide both security and love. And part of that was through cooking and baking for Hunter and Beau. One of the family's longtime favorite dishes is a version of chicken parmesan that Dr. Biden calls Parmesan chicken, which she serves with rigatoni and green salad. Sure, President Biden eats what can only be called an ungodly amount of junk food, via Washington Examiner. However, it's not like he never eats anything healthy. Biden's campaign food diary has him eating salad not once, but 3 whole times. Granted, one of them was a tuna salad, which may or may not have any vegetables at all, but one can always hope that the deli served that tuna salad to Mr. Biden on a bed of lettuce at the very least. The campaign food diary also reveals that in Virginia, Biden dined on a mini chopped salad with avocado. Then there's the side salad that his wife traditionally serves with her signature Parmesan chicken, via Parade magazine, and the vegetable soup Joe carried out from Iowa. Nor should we forget about the caprese salad that his speaking engagement contract requires to be served with his angel hair pomodoro and raspberry sorbet, via The Week. State fairs are, as CNN puts it, paradise for politicians. And it's not just about supporting the agricultural industry or acting folksy with the locals. According to the New York Times, what a politician chooses to eat or not to eat at these shindigs matters. If you find that hard to believe, just Google what politicians eat at state fairs, and you'll find numerous outlets offering an obsessive listing of politicians and their personal state fair foods. And if you dig just a little bit deeper, you'll find an obscure political fact that may have guided Joe Biden's choice to eat fried cheese balls rather than a corn dog at Ohio's Canfield Fair, via Washington Examiner. Ready? Here goes. According to Eater, no presidential candidate except for Barack Obama has ever politically survived the eating of a corn dog. And apparently, our 46th president was not willing to take any chances in Ohio. Like state fairs, fast food restaurants are big political business, according to Eater, which performed a statistical analysis of which politicians are indirectly benefiting most from fast food profits. As it turns out, no CEO of any major fast food company donated to either Trump or Biden, but fast food employees donate more money to Republicans than to Democrats. It appears that President Biden is not taking it personally. Either that or his love of fast food is just too big for him to quit. Among the fast food joints that Biden enjoys is Dairy Queen, which, according to a tweet by Senator Chris Murphy, represents nothing short of a brilliant political choice. In response to a video Biden tweeted flipping a blizzard upside down, the Connecticut senator tweeted, "His recognition of Dairy Queen's greatness is reason enough to make him president." There's also Whataburger, to which Biden gave a shout-out at the Dallas rally when a Texas representative officially endorsed Biden's presidential candidacy in early 2020 via CNN. As the event came to a close, Biden exclaimed, "I'm going to Whataburger right now." Although members of the audience thought he might be kidding, he most certainly was not. President Joe Biden makes no bones about the fact that he doesn't partake in alcoholic beverages. He's seen the damage that hitting the bottle has done to loved ones, neighbors, and other members of his inner circle, according to Marie Claire. So perhaps we should cut him a break for drinking diet soda, which isn't exactly a health food, or his favorite drink of all, Gatorade. In his 25 Things You Don't Know About Me piece that appeared on Us magazine the day after his inauguration, Joe Biden said that his favorite drink is orange Gatorade. Unfortunately, while Gatorade is a healthier choice than soda, that's not saying much. A far better choice for hydration would be good old water, or maybe even milk, which is actually better than water at helping the body to maintain its state of hydration, or coffee or tea, for that matter. Just a quick skim of Joe Biden's food diary from his 2012 vice presidential campaign, which was published by the Washington Examiner, reveals that the 46th president of the United States is a fan of sandwiches. And by that, we mean all manner of things stuffed between bread, including hot dogs, cheeseburgers, and peanut butter and jelly, not to mention meals consisting of both cheeseburgers and peanut butter and jelly. And like many a fellow American, Mr. Biden is a fan of the sort of sandwich many refer to as a Dagwood. For those who don't know, a Dagwood sandwich is a comically tall sandwich constructed of multiple layers of bread, meat, cheese, and condiments. At a campaign stop in Concord, New Hampshire, Biden enjoyed his own Dagwood sandwich courtesy of the Works Cafe. On behalf of foodies everywhere, we wholeheartedly approve. Once upon a time, former Vice President Joe Biden was going head-to-head against Senator Kamala Harris in a bid to win the Democratic Party nomination for the 2020 presidential race. And it wasn't going well for Biden in the wake of the first Democratic Party debate. Senator Harris took him to task for remarks he made earlier about his work with segregationist lawmakers, which Harris considered hurtful from a race perspective. So what did the industrious former vice president do? He went to Doolin's on Crenshaw in Los Angeles, donned an apron, and got to work, according to the New York Times. For those who don't know, Doolin's refers to Doolin's Soul Food Kitchen, a Black-owned restaurant that's been dishing up some of Los Angeles' favorite soul food since 1975. And while spending a little time in a soul food kitchen was great for rehabilitating Biden's image, we're guessing there was more in it for Biden than mere political currency. And by that, we mean potatoes, eggs, sausage, bacon, and fried chicken, which he told TMZ are some of his favorites.
Kamala Harris has always been a very busy woman. She will go down in history as the first woman, not to mention the second person of color, and the first one of mixed Asian descent to occupy one of the top positions in the White House. However, when Harris isn't busy working for the public good, one of her favorite hobbies is cooking. Harris learned to cook as a child, and her earliest specialty was scrambled eggs topped with cut-out cheese smiley faces. It goes without saying that Harris has moved far beyond such easy fare now, regularly bookmarking recipes from the New York Times cooking section and working her way through Alice Waters' The Art of Simple Food. One of Harris's favorite dinners is roast chicken, which she told Glamour can last for 3 meals. After seasoning the chicken, she trusses it and lets the bird sit for at least 24 hours in the fridge, as she says this results in crispier skin. She rubs the chicken with oil or butter and slow roasts it for a few hours. Harris then makes a sauce of the drippings and serves the sauced-up chicken for dinner. Leftovers get repurposed as chicken salad for a second meal. But the frugal Harris isn't done with that chicken yet. The carcass goes into a pot of water with carrots, celery, bay leaf, peppercorns, and maybe some fresh parsley, and it simmers on the stovetop for about 4 hours or so. Strained, it makes what Harris calls the most amazing chicken broth. Occasionally, there have been times when Harris's food choices and her politics come into conflict, but she is honest enough to admit it and tries to do the right thing despite her personal preferences. Harris spoke at a climate change town hall meeting in September 2019, where she made a dietary confession.
I love cheeseburgers from time to time, right? I mean, I just do.
However, she went on to say that we, as a nation, must commit to establishing healthier eating habits. While she isn't advocating a vegan diet for everyone, herself included, Harris does say we need to learn moderation. She also reminds everyone that reducing our red meat consumption isn't something we must do for the good of our arteries alone, but for the sake of the planet. Of course, Harris isn't the only politician who makes news for her food choices. When fellow Senator Mark Warner, a veteran Democrat from Virginia, decided to share a video that showed him making a tuna melt, Harris was shocked at his substandard technique. For starters, he made the rookie mistake of using way too much mayo in his tuna salad, and he didn't even drain the tuna, making his salad a watery mess. What's more, he committed the ultimate cooking sin of renouncing pan grilling in favor of microwaving his sandwich. In response to this caught-on-video sandwich disaster, the two released a video later that same day in which she schooled him on the art of a well-constructed tuna melt. Warner seemed a bit skeptical at some of her inclusions, particularly mustard, but he accepted the tutorial in good spirits and even asked for her advice on his next project, a bologna sandwich. In addition to cooking with fellow politicians and celebrity chefs, Harris has shared kitchen time with some of her supporters. On a trip to Iowa, Harris visited a 17-year-old who may be one of her biggest fans. Together, the two baked up a batch of cookies from a recipe passed down from the girl's grandmother, supersized monster cookies. According to a video Harris posted, these flourless cookies contain peanut butter, oatmeal, and M&Ms. And they seem to taste pretty amazing too. Through the years, Harris has also made some famous friends. Mindy Kaling may be one of the nation's best-known Indian American celebrities, and Kamala Harris is one of the most prominent Americans of Indian descent in the realm of politics. When the two of them got together, it was only natural for the two of them to bond over preparing an Indian dish, masala dosa. This traditional South Indian food involves a two-step process. First, Kaling and Harris made the dosas, which are pancakes made of rice, black lentils, and chickpeas. And then they stuffed these with a spicy filling made of potatoes, onions, and peas. When they finished cooking and started to eat, Kaling said she would only give the dish a hard B-, but Harris thought Kaling should give herself more credit.
I was nervous cooking in front of you.
But you shouldn't be. You're such a good cook.
He may have been one of the most fit people to ever hold the office of President of the United States. But just how does Barack Obama keep his trim physique? Sure, he stays active playing a lot of pickup basketball, but how much of it comes down to his diet? Want to stay as fit as the 44th President of the United States? Then take a look at what former President Barack Obama really eats. Today, upwards of 83% of adults in the United States drink coffee, most of them during the morning. President Obama is not one of them. Yes, despite a grueling daily routine, according to personal aide Reggie Love, President Obama rarely drinks coffee in the morning. Instead, he opts for healthier fare, which might include orange juice, green tea, or simply water. Talk about your basic diet. President Obama may not usually drink coffee, but that doesn't mean he skimps on breakfast. His most common morning meal tends to be 4 to 6 eggs, potatoes, and wheat toast. Considering a good breakfast can reduce your chances of becoming obese, boosts your metabolism, lowers your cholesterol levels, and has a positive effect on the brain, President Obama's rigorous keeping to a healthy breakfast as part of his morning routine is probably a good idea.
I think I know what would help.
What, Secret Service? Air Force One?
No, Grover, a healthy breakfast.
According to Australia's ex-foreign minister Bob Carr, President Obama avoids sugar, carbs, and fat. And he even seems to like his veggies. Early in his first term at the White House, the Obamas made a splash by planting the first vegetable garden on the property since Eleanor Roosevelt's during the Second World War. The garden, which was cared for and run by Michelle Obama, provided food for family meals and organic dinners alike, and served to raise awareness about healthy eating. It included over 55 varieties of vegetables, mostly suggested by kitchen staff, and counted tomatillos, peppers, lettuces, spinach, kale, berries, and more in its lineup. President Obama loves chili, so it's no surprise that he has his very own homemade chili recipe, which is available online thanks to Michelle. The dish stems from their time in Chicago, where they'd invite friends and family over to enjoy it. It's a turkey or beef-based recipe and utilizes red wine vinegar, turmeric, and basil among the staple ingredients, plus kidney beans, onions, and peppers. President Obama has even been known to stop in at chili-themed restaurants from time to time, so keep your eye out. During the 2008 presidential campaign, the Obamas revealed that their favorite purveyor of fine chocolates is Franz Chocolates, which operates out of Seattle. After getting some of Franz Chocolates during a campaign stop, the Obamas spread their love of the sweets to the Secret Service, and then to The View. Sounds delicious. In 2014, President Obama was granted lifetime membership to the American Homebrewers Association in recognition of his position as the first president to homebrew at the White House. In 2011, he had teamed up with his chef Sam Cass to begin crafting their own beer, and with the help of local homebrewers, concocted 2 recipes, one for White House Honey Ale and the other for White House Honey Porter.
We make beer. First president since George Washington to make some booze in the White House.
The Honey Porter included black malt, chocolate malt, and honey, while the ale utilized biscuit malt, gypsum, and honey in its recipe. The honey that's used was particularly special, drawn from the apiary on the White House South Lawn and offering a paler and lighter honey than most. At the end of the day, it's easiest to get a feeling for someone's eating habits simply by taking a gander at their favorite and least favorite foods. According to Reggie Love, Obama's picks include trail mix, roasted almonds, pistachio nuts, water, dentine iced chewing gum, protein bars, and vegetables, with broccoli and spinach being particular faves. And President Obama's food-related bugbears would appear to include mayonnaise, salt and vinegar potato chips, asparagus, and soft drinks. So there you have it. A lot of veggies, nuts, and water with the occasional burger and beer topped off by a nice chocolate dessert.
From imported cheeses and expensive liquors to fine wines and gourmet dinners, this is what Kim Jong-Un loves to eat and drink. The golden rule with Kim's eating habits is that if he likes something, he gorges on it to an almost inhuman degree. Take Emmental cheese, for example. This whole-riddled Swiss cheese is best known for its sweet aroma, fruity flavor, and iconic appearance, as well as the complicated process by which it's made. Kim loves Emmental cheese, having likely picked up a taste for it during his school days in Switzerland. In fact, he likes it so much that he had to step out of the public eye in 2014 for health reasons, which, according to the South Korean newspaper Yonhap, was an affliction of gout. Yonhap went on to report that Kim's gout was thought to be brought on by his high-calorie diet, lack of exercise, and obsession with cheese.
I can ignore the cheese. Yeah, I'm sorry, can't do it.
North Korea's government has even been known to send representatives across the world in order to better serve the state's cheese-producing infrastructure. In 2014, Pyongyang officials visited a French dairy college in an attempt to secure more fine cheeses for their country and their leader. Sadly, they were reportedly turned down. Oh well. Sushi has been a vital part of life in North Korea's upper echelons since long before Kim came to power. Kenji Fujimoto was Kim Jong-il's long-serving personal sushi chef and says he was Kim Jong-un's friend and playmate during their childhood and teen years. He recalls the younger Kim having an affinity for sushi made with toro, the fatty part of the tuna, which is the same cut his father loved. Fujimoto told Mail Online, "I used to make sushi for the general at least once a week, and Jong-un always joined the dinner, so I could say Jong-un likes sushi." Fujimoto had arrived in North Korea in 1982 on a 1-year contract to teach sushi making to Pyongyang chefs. He then agreed to stay on for longer, quickly becoming a close confidant to Kim Jong-il. After a few run-ins with Japanese intelligence agencies, however, Fujimoto eventually fled the country. When Kim Jong-un took the country's reins in 2012, however, Fujimoto was invited back for a visit, which would imply some kind of genuine goodwill towards his father's former sushi chef. Either that, or he really liked his sushi. In a 2013 interview with GQ, Fujimoto announced his intentions to return to North Korea for good, and in 2017 he opened a sushi restaurant in Pyongyang. In 2015, shortly before his return to North Korea, Kenji Fujimoto spoke to the Daily Mail about his future leader's eating habits. Recalling his 2012 visit to the country, Fujimoto explained that he had attended a boozy, extravagant banquet at which Kim Jong-un was present, giving some insight into the kinds of delicacies Kim prefers. Among other things, shark fin soup was on the menu. Fujimoto explained, "I poked a dish of shark fin a couple of times to gesture I was enjoying it, but I was very tense and could not eat much. Shark fin soup is an East Asian delicacy and one of the most controversial dishes in the world, largely because its popularity has pushed some species of shark to the edge of extinction." The chef revealed he had also eaten Kobe steak during the banquet too, and one of the priciest varieties of beef on the planet. To qualify as Kobe, the beef must meet a strenuous list of different criteria, based on location, quality of meat, and weight restrictions. It tends to cost around $150 per pound. It's not just high-quality food that Kim enjoys gorging on. Import data released in 2017 revealed that in 2016, North Korea had imported just over $900,000 worth of Brazilian coffee into the country for its leader and his entourage. And that figure was almost 12 times greater than that reported in 2015.
You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.
Brazil is generally regarded as being home to some of the finest coffee in the world. Today, the country is the single largest exporter of coffee, with most of its stock shipping to Germany, the United States, Italy, Japan, and Belgium. Brazil's rich soil and hot climate make it an ideal environment in which to grow coffee, with some of the country's finest coffees coming from its southern regions. It's not known exactly which brand of coffee Kim likes to import, but some of Brazil's more expensive coffees tend to run up to $50 per pound. Other brands can cost as much as $500 per pound. Whatever Kim is drinking, though, one thing is clear: he's drinking a heck of a lot of it. Kim Jong-Un is no stranger to a drink or two. In fact, he regularly imports more alcohol for his own personal use than most people will ever drink in their lives. In 2019, for example, the Dutch port of Rotterdam seized 90,000 bottles of Russian vodka, which officials believed were headed to Pyongyang. A ship belonging to a Chinese company called Costco Shipping was halted in Rotterdam on a tip from the Russian Foreign Ministry, and customs agents discovered some 3,000 cases of vodka inside. The United Nations have previously banned the export of luxury goods to North Korea, but over the previous 2 years, the country had attempted to dodge international sanctions. Allegedly, the vodka was supposed to be enjoyed by Kim and his military commanders. And although the shipment didn't quite make it to Pyongyang, it's likely that many more reach the shores of North Korea on a regular basis. Not just the bubbly of choice for French connoisseurs, movie stars, and yacht enthusiasts, champagne is also a favorite among planet Earth's worst despots. Kim Jong-un, of course, is no exception. During his sit-down with the Daily Mail, Kenji Fujimoto revealed that Kim's love of fancy booze has probably contributed to his ever-expanding waistline. Fujimoto told the website, "He drank a lot. His favorite was Cristal, usually about 2 bottles in a sitting." Produced by the Louis Roederer estate, Cristal was created in 1876, at the behest of Tsar Alexander II of Russia. Described by the estate as a remarkably balanced and refined champagne, Cristal is known for its silky texture and fruity aromas. Perhaps more importantly, however, it is also ludicrously expensive. Bottles regularly sell for well over $100, with some larger formats going for upwards of $11,000. Considering the name Cristal is practically synonymous with a lavish, extravagant lifestyle, it's not surprising that Kim enjoys it so much. Under Kim Jong-il, North Korea allegedly spent around $1 million every year on Hennessy, a brand of French cognac which costs about $630 per bottle in North Korea. For what it's worth, that's more than most North Koreans make in a year. Kim the Elder had often been spotted drinking Hennessy at meetings and summits with world leaders, and it's very likely that the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree. At the very least, it's not hard to imagine there's still a little of Kim Jong-il's Hennessy stash left lying around. Hennessy is one of the world's finest and largest cognac producers. Established in 1765, the estate's product has been enjoyed by such historical figures as King George IV and Tsar Alexander I, and has been drunk all across the world. Exactly how much Hennessy Kim consumes on a daily basis is unclear, but the amount the country spends on importing it would imply they bring in thousands of bottles every year. Even accounting for his military attaché, his entourage, and his personal friends, that's a whole lot of cognac. According to Kenji Fujimoto, Kim has a particular penchant for French wine, and once boasted about drinking 10 bottles of Bordeaux in a single night. Although this claim did come from a man who insists he started driving at the age of 3, so you can probably take it with a grain of salt. Considering Bordeaux could mean any number of different wines, it's hard to gauge how much money this would cost. A bottle of Bordeaux could easily sell for no more than a few dollars. Equally, however, it could also fetch thousands of dollars. It just depends on which wine estate produced it, and when. But let's face it, Kim probably didn't go for the cheap stuff. As for the 10 bottles in one sitting claim, well, a bottle of red wine tends to contain around 5 glasses, meaning on that fateful night, Kim would have had drunk around 50 standard-sized drinks. For what it's worth, drinking only 5 glasses every week can knock years off your life. The exact health effects on a human who manages to drink 50 glasses of wine in one go aren't particularly well known, however, largely because it'd be basically impossible to do that without passing out. According to a 2014 report by UK tabloid Metro, Kim regularly drinks snake wine, a popular drink that includes a dead cobra in the bottle, which is thought by some to increase the virility of the drinker. Kim's reliance on snake wine is said to have come from his desire and failure to father a second child with his wife. In the report, a South Korean expat explained, "The elite in the country joke that he is too big to please his wife, and that's why they do not have any other children." One senior official said that Kim was drinking many bottles of snake wine to help him in the bedroom department. Snake wine is popular all across South China and Southeast Asia. Its makers usually put one large snake inside each bottle and throw in a number of different roots, berries, and herbs for flavor or medicinal effect. The flavor is said to be earthy and similar to rice wine with a protein finish, like a fishy chicken. Occasionally, the snake is drowned in the alcohol during the winemaking process, leading to the occasional incident in which half-living snakes have leapt out of the bottle and attacked the drinker.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
As a state leader, Kim often finds himself attending lavish dinners, banquets, and other similar events. Unsurprisingly, the menus at such events tend to be chock full of hot cuisine and gourmet dishes. Take Kim's Hanoi summit with Donald Trump in February 2019, for example. The menu was originally set to include Hanoi-style spring rolls, grilled cod chaka, and shredded mango salad with scallops. On that particular occasion, the menu actually became subjected to something of a last-minute rewrite. In the end, Kim was served shrimp cocktail with Thousand Island dressing, grilled sirloin with pear kimchi, and chocolate lava cake with fresh berries and vanilla ice cream for dessert. The exact reason for the change in menu wasn't given, but it's probably no coincidence that those foods are the exact type of thing you tend to find on the menu at Trump's own hotels and restaurants. Kim attended another dinner in 2018, this time with South Korean President Moon Jae-in. In the peace house that stands in the Korean demilitarized zone's so-called truce village of Panmunjom, Kim and Moon dined on a number of extravagant dishes. This included chilled octopus garnished with citrus soy sauce, Korean beef with vegetables, and parcels of sea cucumber, cod, and beef. The dinner was also rife with symbolism, with ingredients sourced from locations with personal value to the two leaders, surprise miniature maps of a unified Korea, and frequent acknowledgments of both countries' culinary traditions. Did it work? Well,
the North Korean leader Kim Jong-Un says the world will soon get a glimpse of what he called a new strategic weapon.
Of course, though tensions between North and South Korea tend to run high, often risking the deaths of tens of thousands of people, the citizens of each country can rest assured their leaders are eating like kings. Not that that's necessarily comforting.
For a prominent world leader, Vladimir Putin is something of a mystery. Aside from his long-standing position of authority in Russia, not much is known about the real Putin, and that extends to his eating habits. For centuries, every leader who's been worried about their safety has employed somebody to taste or test the food they eat to safeguard against assassination. Roman emperors did it, dictators have done it, even a president or two has done it.
Come on, relax. What's the worst he could do? Feed us poison! I think you're being a bit paranoid.
No surprise then that Putin's got a food taster too. Everything placed in front of the Russian president has been tried and tested by someone whose job it is to take a hit should someone decide to spark a third world war by killing him. As Putin's actions have become more and more controversial over the last few years, this isn't so much paranoia as it is a sensible matter of safety. According to Anya von Bremzen, a contributor to Food and Wine, Russians of the Soviet generation adore ice cream. She says, "We all ate it in winter, even though our parents forbade it because of the cold." That seems to extend to Putin too. Time and again, ice cream, specifically pistachio ice cream, has topped the list of his favorite foods. Putin has treated other world leaders to ice cream during public appearances, and even gifted it to Chinese President Xi Jinping, which, according to Russia Today, led to Russian ice cream craze in China. Putin's actual eating habits are a little hard to get a firm grasp on, since the reports about them are not entirely verifiable. For example, we're told that Putin likes to eat healthy food, including tomatoes, cucumbers, and lettuce, and avoids sweets. He prefers fish, but his favorite meat is mutton. All that information comes from the former official newspaper of the Soviet Communist Party, Pravda, which was itself reporting on Putin's own words.
It just seems so hard to believe.
How can he prefer fish when his favorite meat is mutton? What kind of list is tomatoes, cucumbers, and lettuce? Does he really avoid sweets, considering how much he loves ice cream? Perhaps the only halfway convincing fact in Pravda's report is that, according to his then-wife, Putin believed women must do all the work in the home and that they shouldn't be praised so as not to spoil them. It's always fascinating to learn the morning habits of various world leaders. Pope Francis begins the day before dawn and eats a simple breakfast after prayers. President Trump doesn't eat breakfast at all, and Putin begins his day quite leisurely indeed. He wakes up late enough that breakfast is usually served at noon. On the menu tends to be a large omelet or a bowl of porridge with quail eggs and a glass of fruit juice on the side. Putin is also partial to a cup of coffee in the morning right after breakfast. Of course, his is served to him and there are courtiers involved, so it's not entirely regular Joe stuff, but he has shown up at an actual coffee shop from time to time. Shortly after his coffee, he'll keep his job waiting just a bit longer while he spends some time in the gym and watches the news. Putin also sometimes likes to eat steaks for breakfast, according to a display for the media RT broadcast in 2015. The Russian president took a trip to the gym with Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev before retiring to grill some steaks. The video was released shortly after a dip in Putin's ratings, so it was likely more photo op than typical meal. According to Putin himself, he enjoys trying local cuisine when he's traveling and will eat fruit and drink kefir, a type of fermented milk, when he can. Otherwise, he tends not to eat in the afternoon at all and often skips dinner because of his busy schedule. Kefir, funnily enough, is one of the few things that does seem to keep cropping up in varying reports on Putin's diet. The yogurt-like drink has been spotted in media appearances, and according to his now ex-wife Lyudmila Putina, the way to get Vladimir to listen to her was to wait at home with a glass of it on the kitchen table, ready and waiting. The first president of post-Soviet Russia, Boris Yeltsin, was a notorious drinker, to the point of embarrassment at times. This, as well as stereotypes about Russians and drinking, are most likely the reasons for Putin's aversion to alcohol. Some reports claim that he only drinks at formal receptions, while others suggest that Putin does like a drink every now and then. Some stories claim Angela Merkel and Putin send each other German beer on the regular.
Beer me bitte. Here you go. As they say in Ferris Bueller. Dankeschön.
Don't expect to see him downing vodka anytime soon, though, no matter what the stereotypes may say. The alcoholism epidemic in Russia is fueled by this stuff, to the extent that the Moscow Times described it as Putin's worst enemy. A good way to get a grasp of what sort of thing Putin might eat on more formal occasions is to take a look at some of the menus from previous events and dinners. During a lunch at Podvorye, a restaurant in St. Petersburg, he ate fish soup followed by cold cuts, smoked sturgeon with lemon and butter, then a range of desserts. At a 2008 dinner between him and then U.S. President George W. Bush, the two leaders dined on venison fillet with marinated mushrooms, veal tenderloin with baked potato, salmon and crab kulibiak, and finally, berry pie with ice cream. At another dinner meeting between Putin and Bush in 2006, they ate a salad of tomatoes with 50-year-old balsamic vinegar, crawfish with gooseberry marmalade, olati with caviar, whitefish, steak, and strawberry ice cream. So while Russia may be known as a country of austere simplicity, and Putin may project an image of tough guy relatability, the guy's not afraid to live in luxury sometimes. The Dalai Lama's eating habits are nothing short of fascinating. From his approach to meat to the strict laws of Buddhism to the palace gardens which provide his favorite ingredients, these are the ins and outs of the Dalai Lama's meek but mighty diet. The first assumption that's easy to make about the Dalai Lama's eating habits is that he's a vegetarian. It makes sense, right? One of the principal precepts of Buddhism, after all, is to abstain from killing. Different sects of Buddhism, however, interpret that law in different ways, and the Dalai Lama's strand does allow for meat to be eaten by its practitioners. When he fled to India in 1959, he adopted a lacto-avo vegetarian diet in accordance with the beliefs of many of the country's own Buddhists. Essentially, that means including milk and eggs in meals, but leaving out the meat. Unfortunately, after 20 months, his developing illnesses led to his doctor's recommendation he resume eating meat for health reasons. Today, it's difficult to come by meat in the vegetarian monasteries in South India where he spends most of his time. Still, he's said he usually eats meat once or twice a week, and he does eat meat dishes that are offered to him while he's on the road. The Dalai Lama's first meal of the day usually consists of porridge, bread, tea, and sampa, an important part of the Tibetan diet.
So I learned some nutritionists say the samba is very good.
Sampa is a type of flour made from roasted barley, then usually mixed with tea and yak's milk. It's a crucial part of the Tibetan diet and cultural identity, and once his early meals are over, he's subject to some severe restrictions. According to monastic texts, Buddhist monks and nuns are prohibited from eating solid food after midday. Although it's a controversial view among Buddhist practitioners in many ways and for many reasons, it's one that the Dalai Lama certainly adheres to. He takes lunch at 11:30 a.m. and after that, eats nothing at all until the next morning. The Potala Palace in Lhasa was the Dalai Lama's home during his life in Tibet prior to the 1959 rebellion. Many types of traditional Buddhist and Tibetan breads were baked in the palace's kitchens, and there were also a number of greenhouses which provided fresh vegetables throughout the year. That meant the Dalai Lama had fresh veg for most meals, including cauliflower, bitter melon, spinach, tomatoes, and daikon. Although the Dalai Lama now lives in Dharamshala in India, it's likely that he still enjoys many of the same foods and dishes that he used to eat in Tibet. According to one former member of the Dalai Lama's kitchen staff, His Holiness was, like many of his fellow Tibetans, a big fan of noodles. One of the dishes he enjoys regularly is tukpa, a vegetable and noodle soup which originated in eastern Tibet and northern Nepal. He's said to also be partial to momo and chapeli, similar dishes made of meat folded inside of a pastry. These traditional dumplings are frequently served up for His Holiness, and considering his schedule, they're likely lunch dishes. It probably comes as no surprise to find that the Dalai Lama doesn't drink alcohol. His aversion to alcohol doesn't just stop with himself, however. In 2017, he told John Oliver that he managed to cure the entire nation of Mongolia of alcoholism in the 90s by encouraging them to drink something completely different.
Wait, hold on.
Horse milk.
Wait, you tried to wean them off vodka by giving them horse milk?
Oh, yes. They follow.
For the Dalai Lama, though, it's a clear case of simple abstinence, whether we're talking vodka or fermented mare's milk. Although the Dalai Lama is unable to eat after midday, liquids are not off limits for the rest of the day. Around 5 p.m. every day, he sits down for evening tea. Like many Eastern Asian countries, tea is a pretty big part of Tibetan life, and one specialty the country enjoys is yak butter tea. It's made by brewing dark tea with salt before adding yak butter and milk. The finished product is creamy, fatty, and nutty, and it's likely one of the types of tea that the Dalai Lama will enjoy in the evening. After tea, His Holiness spends a couple of hours praying and meditating before retiring to his quarters to get some sleep. Then he wakes up a few hours later to do the whole thing again.
Smoothies, sushi, and spicy food? We're taking a look at what Kate Middleton really eats in a day, including her favorite dessert. Kate Middleton obviously needs a lot of energy to keep up with her hectic schedule, which is likely what inspires her to have a nutritious breakfast. Hello reveals that while her kids dine on cereal with apples in the morning, Middleton herself prefers a hearty bowl of porridge. When the Duchess wants an extra power boost, however, she's got another secret weapon in her breakfast arsenal, a super green smoothie made with spirulina. As the Daily Mail reports, her smoothies are packed with kale, spinach, romaine lettuce, cilantro, blueberries, and matcha powder. One of Hello's lifestyle writers drank Middleton's famed smoothie every day for a full month, and she found that she did have plenty of energy and great skin. Unfortunately, she also revealed that the flavor was less than enjoyable. We guess you've got to be able to deal with a certain amount of unpleasantness if you're preparing to be a queen consort, and this Middleton special is probably an acquired taste. Between meals, Middleton sometimes snacks on quick, nutrient-filled bites. Rather than reaching for a candy bar or a bag of chips, she instead favors fruits and vegetables. My London says she's a big fan of vitamin-rich goji berries, adding that she also enjoys olives, a love she has passed on to her daughter, Princess Charlotte. While Middleton isn't a vegetarian, she may well be a flexitarian, as she doesn't seem to mind abstaining from meat one bit. As RSVP Live relates, during a 2016 visit to India, she and Prince William enjoyed meals prepared by Chef Raghu Diora, vegetarian ones, as he was told that this was what the couple preferred. Among the dishes he served them were veggie kebabs and lentil curry. Middleton has also been known to experiment with a raw diet 1 day a week. As one of her friends told the Daily Mail in 2014, she tried it to achieve radiant skin. Whether or not this is still a part of her routine, she likely still enjoys a good salad. A few of her favorites are tabbouleh and one made from watermelon. While Middleton hasn't shared her recipe, Hello speculates that the watermelon salad she enjoys may include cucumbers, avocado, onion, and feta cheese. Middleton tends to keep things fresh and light at lunchtime. Another one of her go-to midday meals, according to Hello, is ceviche, a Peruvian specialty of raw fish marinated in citrus juice and seasoned with chilies, onions, and cilantro. Ceviche is also enjoyed in other countries such as Mexico and can be made with other types of seafood like shrimp. That's not the only kind of raw fish Middleton favors, though. It seems that both she and her husband are very fond of sushi. A 2018 tweet from the restaurant Japan House London quoted Prince William, who had paid the eatery a royal visit to sample sashimi. He told the chef, "My wife and I love sushi. We might have to come down here for lunch when no one else is in." One thing Middleton is very fond of is food that packs some punch.
When she was pregnant, Hello says one of her main cravings was for spicy Indian-style curry. She enjoyed similar dishes on a visit to India and has also cooked them at home. Her husband, however, isn't such a fan of spicy foods. Middleton isn't the only one in her family who enjoys a chili-spiked curry. In 2019, the Daily Mail's royals reporter tweeted that a certain little princess, Charlotte to be exact, just 4 years old at the time, was already developing an appreciation for these spicier things in life. What are some of the things that Middleton and her small sous chefs like to whip up? As Hello shares, they love making pasta dishes like mac and cheese. However, the authentically Italian spaghetti carbonara is Prince George's all-time favorite, according to the Daily Mail. The family also collaborates on salads and homemade pizza.
I'm in love.
Vanity Fair adds that Middleton hasn't forgotten how to make her husband's favorite dish either. He's quite partial to roast chicken, and this is something she's been cooking for him since the couple were newlyweds. Her go-to chicken recipe may be one that former royal chef Darren McGrady shared with Princes William and Harry, as well as their own mom, Princess Diana. McGrady also passed the recipe on to Ola, and it couldn't be simpler. Coat a whole roasting bird with salt, then bake on a rack at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour. Voila! A meal fit for a duke. Former royal chef Darren McGrady has made frequent media appearances discussing the royals' favorite dishes. In a YouTube video from a few years back, he revealed the name of Kate Middleton's favorite dessert, sticky toffee pudding. Across the pond, this is the ultimate classic pudding, which is the British term used to refer to just about any type of dessert. Demonstrating the recipe, McGrady explained in the video that sticky toffee pudding is actually a type of steamed fruit cake. While the traditional recipe calls for apricots, he prefers to use dates instead. The cake is topped with a sauce, the sticky toffee part, that's made from muscovado sugar, butter, and cream.